Hey MMA fans, Cage Minds, your host Micah Frankel, here to do our recap for UFC on Fuel 2, the event that took place in Sweden. There are 6 prelims, 6 on the main card, so 12 altogether. We'll do those 12 recaps for you right now. Start off with Jason Young versus Eric Wisely. We had predicted Jason Young to be victorious. Thought it'd be more with the stoppage in the TKO fashion. But improved grappling from Jason Young. Got the top control, landed ground and pound, and gets a unanimous decision. Next matchup, Simon Thorsen versus Bisam Youssef. We had predicted for Thorsen to win with the submission. Wasn't quite sure which one. Looked to be really great as a grappler, and that showed through. Youssef did land some big shots. Showed to have a lot of heart, good in the clinch. Both men were exchanging in the second round and went to the ground, and Thorsen showed his dominance, got a second round rear naked choke. Next up, Yolandi Izquierdo versus Reza Madadi. We had predicted Madadi to win with his better wrestling, his grappling, getting a split decision. The fight lived up to what we thought it would be. Yolandi trying to keep it standing, going after it the way you should against a grappler, but Madadi got the takedowns. In the first round, missed an opportunity trying to go for the submission before getting to the position. In the second round, a guillotine choke, had perfect position, and Madadi is the victor. Next matchup was Francis Carmont versus Magnus Sinenbald. We had predicted Carmont to win, ground and pound, takedowns, bigger and stronger. Did all that and finished the fight off in the second round with a rear naked choke. This matchup went back and forth. Then the second round, Carmont got on top, took the back, was landing some ground pound, and got the choke. Next matchup, Cyril Diabate versus Tom Diblis. We had predicted Diblis to win with a submission with a rear naked choke, seeing as Diabate didn't have the strongest grappling, and he was preparing this whole time for a fight with a fellow kickboxer, so we didn't think his grappling would be up to par for this test. And in the first round, Diabate was taken down, but Diblis, very little damage, just kind of had octagonal control in that first round. The next 2 rounds, Diabate uses the knees, the punches, keeps his distance, and then the third round even gets on top, on the ground, and is landing big ground and pound. Tom Diblis just had no cardio. Didn't look like he was in the best of shape taking this on 5 days' notice. A majority decision is the victory for Cyril Diabate. One judge had it as a draw. The other 2 had the decision going Diabate's way. Last on the prelims, James Head versus Poppy Abedi. We had predicted Abedi to win with a knockout, seeing his power, figuring he could only learn from his first outing out in the UFC, his loss to Thiago Alves. That was not the case. James Head dropping down from middleweight to welterweight. Looked powerful, looked strong. Took him a while to find his range and his mark, but when he did, he started unloading with right hands. Got Abedi against the cage. With his left forearm, posts Abedi in the throat, posts him against the cage. 3 consecutive right hands, a left, dropping Abedi. Abedi on the ground, gives up his back, doesn't tuck his chin, and gives up the rear naked choke. So that's back-to-back losses for Abedi in the UFC by the rear naked choke after suffering a beating on the feet. That was the prelims. Now we go on to the main card. Started off with Brad Pickett versus Damasio Page. We picked Pickett to win it. Heard that Damasio was going to be revamped, but still thought Pickett because of the wildness. The uncontrollable, the wild man comes out of Damasio and he goes insane inside the cage, and he just doesn't stay calm, cool, and collected. That all turned out to be right, but the fight we had predicted on, we thought it would go to the decision. Didn't happen. This was the night of the rear naked choke, and we get another one in the second round by Brad Pickett. This fight was back and forth, exciting. Both men threw the kitchen sink at each other, and they also got bonus Fight of the Night award for these 2 men. Next fight we're talking about, DeMarcus the Darkness Johnson versus John the One McGuire. We had predicted McGuire to win this. Better grappling, better positioning. Possibility for a submission because Johnson, even though he gets a lot, does lose a lot by the submission. But I saw this going to a decision, being a positional battle. It was for a lot of the first round. Both men attacking. McGuire on top, but an attacking DeMarcus Johnson with submissions. Again, in the second round is where we find it at, as Johnson's going for a Kimura. McGuire's able to defend, transition to his own armbar, and get the tap in the second round with an armbar. Impressive for John Llewellyn McGuire. Next matchup we're talking about, Dennis Seaver versus Diego Nunes. Split decision prediction from us for Diego Nunes. All striking, thought he would have the edge in a very close striking battle that I really thought would have went to the split decision. 29-28 across the board. Dennis Seaver wins, but Diego Nunes walked out on a face contest, the winner, Seaver bleeding. But Seaver did show impressively that he did make weight at 145 pounds and could go 15 minutes at this weight class, which was a big question in my opinion because of the weight cut. Next matchup we're talking about, Paulo Thiago versus CR Badhadrzada. We had predicted Thiago to win, being the more well-rounded fighter, having the better grappling. Thought that would matter. That was not the case. CR with a huge, impactful debut. A left hook, then forcing Thiago to come in and shoot a quick uppercut, short, tight, and a knockout. Paulo Thiago was flat out. CR Badhadrzada, wow, is all I can say. And he gets a knockout of the night award in his UFC debut. Keep an eye on that welterweight. He is devastating. That took us up to the co-main event of the night, Alexio Sakara versus Brian Stann. Brian Stann, we predicted to win, tighter boxing. Thought he would finish this in the first round. He did hurt Sakara on the feet, got it to the ground. Huge ground and pound, two lefts, knock out Sakara. A third one comes down, wakes him back up, but the ref jumps back in. Brian Stann, first round TKO. And now we're on to the main event, Thiago Silva versus Alexander Gustafsson. I thought after an accumulation of shots, a lot of movement, that Gustafsson will wear down Silva and get a TKO in the third round. He did use the movement, cut angles, kept Silva off balance, stayed out of the brawl, and Alexander Gustafsson wins with a unanimous decision, using his technical prowess on the striking to just totally control the entire matchup. For our Cage Mind picks, we were 8 correct and 4 wrong. Try to do better next time, not have so many wrong. This has been Cage Minds. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, hit the like button, subscribe to the videos, uncage the warrior within yourself, and have a good night.